I want to read a little bit of the Bible today for you guys. God makes the world. Long ago, before time began, our world was dark and distraught. When God began to create order and beauty, first came light to bring into the darkness, and there was light. Next, he ordered the raging oceans to go back so that dry land appeared. But the land was empty and silent, except for the lapping of the waves and the sign of the wind. So God commanded the earth to produce trees and plants. How lovely the first green leaves and bright flowers looked. When high above in the lofty sky that he had made, God's commanded the sun to shine in the day and the moon to give gentler light by night. He created the stars to twinkle in the valiantly darkness. Still sky and sea were silent and empty. So God made creatures to swim and play in the ocean, from the tiniest fish to the largest whale. He made the birds to sing sweetly as they flew among the trees. It was a beautiful world, and God saw how good it was, but the land was still empty. So God made the animals. He created small, furry creatures and huge, strong beasts as well. The woods and forests, the fields and the plains came alive with the animals that God had made. God told all the fish and birds and animals to bear young and to grow in numbers, so that his whole world could be full of busy and content. God looked at all that he had made and said, it is very good. God makes people. God looked with glances as he vast universe and the beautiful world that he had made, but he knew that he had still to make the most wonderful part of his creation. Now I will make human human beings. God said they will have minds to think and know and love me, and he will put them in charge of this world to keep it in order. First God made the man called Adam. But even with all the animals to care for and play with, Adam was lonely. So God made the woman, Eve, to be his wife, so that they could plan and talk and laugh and love together. God blessed them both and told them to enjoy everything in the world that he had made. They were to have children to help them with in the task that God had given them. But although they were in charge of the world, they must always obey God. He loved them and knew what was best for them. They would be happy as long as they did as he told them. God gave Adam and Eve a beautiful garden to live in. There were trees laden with ripe fruit from them to eat. Pick the fruit and eat it freely, God told them, but do not eat the fruit from that one tree in the middle of the garden. That is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. If you eat from the fruit from that tree, you will die. God brought all the animals and birds to Adam so that he could give them names. Adam and Eve talked to the animals and played with them, and they did just as Adam and Eve told them. Adam and Eve looked after the garden for God. They took good care of the plants and trees. Every evening, when it was cool, God came to talk to them. They would walk up and down, sharing all that had happened until the darkness fell to the end. Another perfect day. Creation. The tempting fruit. Nothing could spoil the happiness of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, or so it seemed. But there was one person who was plotting to spoil all that God had made. He was Satan, the enemy of God, who hated all that was good and lovely. One day, the snake, who was the most cunning of all the creatures in the garden, whispered to Eve, "Did God really say that you must not eat any of the fruit from these lovely trees?" "Of course not." Eve replied, "We can eat all the fruit we want, except for just that one tree over there. God says that we must not eat that fruit, for if we do, we shall die." "That's not true," the snake said softly. "God knows what if you eat that fruit, you will be as wise and clever as he is. That is why he has told you not to." Eve looked with new eyes at the luscious fruit and that hung in clusters from the forbidden tree. How lovely it looked. She imagined how good it would taste when she thought how wonderful it would be to become as wise as the snake had promised. Then her mind made up. She quickly picked one of the tempting fruits, bit into it, and handed it to Adam to try. But instead of feeling clever and wise, they both felt miserable and ashamed. They had disobeyed the wise and loving God who was their creator and their friend. When evening came, they did not hurry out to meet God. They were ashamed because they had disobeyed him. They picked some large leaves to try to cover their bodies and then hide silently in the bushes everywhere. Every other evening they had and gradually wasted for God's loving call. Now they listened in fear for the well-known sound of God's voice. At last they heard him. "Where are you, Adam?" called God with downcast eyes. They creeped out to meet the God who they no longer wanted to see. That was page 14, Paradise Lost. We're gonna go to that page next time.